Alarm bells are being raised over the risk of infectious disease outbreaks in some Toronto schools. CBC News has found that more than 10% of students have exemptions from being vaccinated at 12 alternative schools. Some are elementary schools, others are high schools. All are publicly funded. Rebecca Stonham's daughter fell gravely ill with a preventable illness, whooping cough, also known as pertussis, just days before she was scheduled to be vaccinated. Luckily, she made a full recovery. I spoke with Rebecca earlier from Brantford, Ontario, and she explained what happened.
So when Scarlett was 7 weeks old, she came down with pertussis. So we kind of recognized a bit of a cough, and we took her into our local hospital here. And they said that they thought that that's what it might be. So they sent us on to McMaster Children's Hospital in Hamilton. There it was confirmed that, yes, she did have pertussis. She was only a week before, just under a week before her vaccinations were due. She was intubated for 10 days at McMaster and in hospital for a total of almost 3 weeks to get back and come out of the intubation and all of that.
Oh my gosh, we're looking at a photograph of her with all kinds of tubes and everything, the poor thing. So that must have been a very scary time for you and your family. Tell us about that.
It was definitely scary. We almost lost her a couple of times for that few weeks. It was really kind of touch and go for a little while there. And a lot of it was I didn't really understand what pertussis meant and how bad it can be when it's in somebody that small.
And so how did she get it?
So we don't actually know for sure how she got it. We're thinking that it came via my husband. He works at a large plant, and it very well could have gone around there. He is vaccinated, but I guess it just might not have been ineffective. So we're thinking, but we don't really know for sure.
And so when you hear about the number of kids in schools, the CBC did a study of alternative schools in Toronto who aren't vaccinated, what goes through your head?
First off, I think it's terrifying just because obviously the less amount of children that are vaccinated, the more likely it is that these terrifying diseases can run rampant in a school, which is scary for all of our kids.
And so even though Ontario has some of the strictest rules about vaccinations in schools, we see a lot of these kids are just not being vaccinated. What would you like to see done about this? Do you think, the Toronto chief medical officer says, you need to be required to vaccinate your kids. Do you think the rules need to be stricter?
I do. I think that it's from what I hear, it's relatively easy to be exempt in the sense that it's just a quick seminar and a form that you need to sign. I don't think parents really understand fully the implications of what these diseases can actually do to a real person. So I definitely think it should be stricter, and more specifically to those that are being exempt for their non-medical reasons. Those should really be cracked down to make sure that they really understand what they're doing.
What's your message to parents who don't want to have their kids vaccinated? Not that I know there are some for medical reasons who can't,
right,
but those who for other reasons are choosing not to.
First off, I think that they should really just understand where they're getting their information from, because a lot of these sources are not reliable or they have been debunked in the past, and they really should be listening to the reliable sources. And second off, I think they should also realize that they're not just putting their own children at risk. They also might be risking the lives of other children, and that's not really fair to a lot of other families.
Rebecca Stonham in Brantford, Ontario.